Burn the witch. The fire pit was ready. Thick smoke rose into the sky. The heat burned the air. Around the pit, dozens of aliens shouted, their faces filled with anger. Some threw stones. Others waved sharp sticks. Soldiers in black armor stood nearby, holding electric whips to keep the crowd in line. Tied to the center pole was a young alien girl. Her green skin was bruised, her white hair messy and tangled. Chains held her arms and legs tight. Her eyes, glowing faintly blue, looked around in fear. Her name was Kayla. She was just 17. But today, they called her a witch. She touched the sacred flame. Someone shouted. She opened the forbidden vault. Another screamed. She must burn. Kayla's heart pounded in her chest. She didn't understand. She hadn't meant to break any laws. She was only trying to survive. She had found an old ruin, touched a glowing stone, and everything had gone wrong after that. The flame had reacted. The village elder had fallen to his knees, shouting that she was cursed. And now, she was about to die. A tall alien priest stepped forward holding a torch. His skin was gray and cracked, his robes black with golden symbols. He raised the torch above the pit. "Let the fire purify her sins," he said loudly. The crowd cheered. Kayla closed her eyes. "Is this how my life ends?" She thought, alone, afraid, hated. She felt the heat growing near her feet. Her skin started to sweat. Her breath came fast. Then, boom! A huge sound tore through the sky. Dust and rocks flew into the air. People screamed and ducked. A black ship dropped from the clouds, its engines roaring like thunder. The ground shook. The ship landed hard beside the fire pit. The wind from the engines blew out the torch. The priest fell backward. A metal door opened slowly, and from the smoke stepped a tall human man. He wore dark armor with glowing blue lines. His boots were heavy, his face was sharp, and his eyes were cold like ice. Everyone went silent. The human looked around at the crowd, then at Kayla. She was still chained, still shaking. He spoke clearly. "I suggest you let her go." The priest stood up, angry. "You have no right to be here, human." "I'm not asking," the man said. "I'm giving you 10 seconds. Kayla's eyes widened. She didn't know who he was, but something in his voice felt safe. The crowd shouted again, angrier than before. "Kill him too! Humans don't rule here!" The priest raised his hand to signal the soldiers, but before anyone could move, the human raised his arm. A flash of blue light exploded from a small device. On his wrist, the soldiers' weapons short-circuited. The priest was thrown back, then in a blink the human jumped forward. He landed beside Kayla, pulled out a glowing knife, and cut through the chains. Kayla fell into his arms. He looked into her eyes. "You, all right?" he asked. She tried to speak, but her voice was dry. Who are you?" He smirked. "Name's Rix, Commander Rix." The crowd ran forward, screaming. But Rix threw a metal ball into the air. It flashed, and a wall of light exploded around them. He picked up Kayla and ran back to the ship. The door closed behind them. The ship lifted off the ground, leaving fire and shouting voices behind. Kayla lay on a soft seat, breathing fast. She looked at Rix again. "Why did you save me?" He turned to her and said, "Because someone has, to protect the ones they're afraid of." Far below, the priest stared up at the sky, his face full of fear. "She survived," he whispered. "She touched the flame and lived. That means..." He turned to the others. "That girl is the last flame bearer who sent the human." Kayla woke up to silence. She wasn't in chains anymore. The bed beneath her was soft, clean. She blinked at the bright lights above and slowly turned her head. The walls were silver and smooth. Strange machines hummed quietly. A soft vibration filled the floor. They were flying. She was on a ship, a real starship. The smell of metal and air filters filled her nose. Her fingers curled around the blanket. For a second, she thought it was a dream. Then the memory hit her. The fire, the chains, the human. Her heart jumped. She sat up fast. "Easy," a calm voice said. She turned her head. Commander Rix stood at the doorway. His armor was off now. He wore a gray shirt stretched across his chest and dark pants tucked into tall boots. A pistol rested on his hip, but his hands were empty. Kayla stared at him, still unsure. "Where am I?" she asked. "Safe," he said. "My ship, Valkyrie, we're off-world now." She narrowed her eyes. "Why did you save me?" Rix walked over to the table near her bed. He picked up a glass of blue water and handed it to her. "Drink first." Kayla took it slowly and drank. It was cold and sweet. She didn't realize how thirsty she was. Then she looked at him again. "You didn't answer." Rix leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "I was sent." "By who?" He didn't answer right away. Kayla's eyes sharpened. "Tell me." He sighed. "That's classified." "Classy what?" Rix gave a small smirk. "It means I can't tell you yet." Kayla frowned. "You're hiding something." "Everyone hides something," he said. "Even you." She looked away. He was right. She hadn't told anyone what really happened that day at the ruins. 2 weeks before the fire, Kayla had been walking through the mountains, beyond her village. No one went there. The land was said to be cursed, full of ghosts and old technology. But Kayla wasn't afraid of ruins. She liked the quiet. That's when she found the stone vault. It was buried under vines and rocks. The door had a strange symbol, like fire trapped in a circle. When she touched it, the door opened. Inside was a glowing crystal floating above a pedestal. She didn't know what it was. But when she reached for it, it pulsed. It lit up, bright as the sun. And her body lit up too. A mark appeared on her chest, shaped like a flame. Her skin burned, but it didn't hurt. Her heart felt warm, alive. Then everything went black. When she woke up, she was still in the ruin. The crystal was gone, but the mark on her chest was still there. She covered it with cloth and said nothing. But someone must have seen, because a day later the elders accused her of stealing from the gods. Kayla touched her chest now, remembering. Rix noticed the movement. "You still have it, don't you?" She froze. "What?" He pointed at her chest. "The mark. I saw it when I cut your chains. That wasn't just a scar." Kayla looked down. The flame symbol was faint now, glowing softly under her skin. She pulled the blanket tighter. "I don't know what it means." "Well, I do," Rix said. She looked up. "You do?" He nodded. "It's an ancient symbol from the Ember War, thousands of years ago. Only one kind of person could survive touching that kind of energy, someone with true flame in their blood." "True flame? It's what your people used to call royal blood." Kayla's heart skipped. "That can't be. I'm not royal." "Maybe someone lied to you," Rix said calmly. "Maybe they hid the truth to protect you. Or maybe they were afraid of what you really are." Kayla felt dizzy. Her? Royal? No. She had grown up poor, unwanted. The villagers only tolerated her because she stayed quiet. And now, this human said she was something more. "Why are you really here?" she asked again. Rix looked away for a second, then walked to a small control panel on the wall. He pressed a few buttons. A hologram lit up in the center of the room. A tall alien woman with gold eyes and long silver robes appeared. The recording spoke. "If Kayla lives, protect her. She is the last spark. She must find the Ember Core before the Empire does." Kayla's mouth dropped open. Who is that?" "My commander," Rix said quietly. "She died 3 days after sending this." Kayla stared at the hologram as it faded. "The Ember Core?" she asked. "What is that?" Rix didn't answer, because the truth was, he wasn't sure either. But he knew one thing. Kayla wasn't just some poor village girl anymore. She was something ancient, and the whole galaxy would soon know it. A dead planet's secret. The stars outside the ship blinked like tiny fires. Kayla sat near the window, knees pulled to her chest, staring at them. Each one looked so small, but she knew they were huge, burning suns, just like the one inside her. The flame mark on her chest had started to glow brighter. It pulsed sometimes, slowly, like a second heartbeat. And every time it did, she saw things, strange things, flashes of broken buildings, empty cities, a giant door carved into stone, a voice calling her name, but the voice wasn't hers. It was deeper, older, and it was always crying. Commander Rick stood on the ship's bridge, arms crossed, watching their path. Beside him was a glowing screen showing a gray planet below them. It was dark and cracked, with rings of ice floating around it. The name of the planet was Veltrax. It used to be full of life, cities, people. Now it was silent. "Why are we here?" Kayla asked, stepping into the room. Rix didn't look at her. "You'll see." The ship landed gently on the surface. The wind was strong outside. The ground was covered in black dust. They stepped out wearing light armor. Kayla's boots sank slightly into the soft earth. All around them were ruins, metal bones of buildings, broken statues, long dead machines. A strange blue mist floated above the ground like ghosts. Kayla walked slowly, her eyes wide. "This place feels sad." Rix nodded. "It was destroyed in the Ember War, thousands of years ago. No survivors." "What are we looking for?" she asked. He pointed ahead. That, at the end of a long, cracked road, was a giant archway. Half of it had collapsed, but the center was still standing. Strange symbols covered the stone. As they walked closer, Kayla felt something change. The air grew warm. Her chest burned. The flame mark glowed brighter. She stepped ahead of Rix, pulled by something unseen. "Kayla, wait," Rix said, but she didn't stop. Her hand touched the stone. It lit up. The ground rumbled. The arch glowed. Then slowly it opened, revealing stairs leading down into darkness. A cold wind blew out from the hole. Rix turned on a light. "Stay close," he said. They walked down into the earth, step by step. The tunnel walls were covered in carvings. Pictures of war, fire, and one symbol that kept repeating, the flame circle. Kayla stopped in front of one image. It showed a girl, standing alone, her chest glowing, surrounded by a crowd kneeling in front of her. "That looks like you," Rix finished. They reached the end of the tunnel. It opened into a small round room. In the center was a pedestal. Floating above, it was a small cube made of glowing red glass. Kayla stepped forward. The cube pulsed when she got close. Her flame mark answered. She reached out and touched it. The moment her fingers touched the cube, the room filled with light. A voice echoed in the air. "Welcome, Flamebearer. You carry the spark of the last star. The Ember Core must not fall. You must awaken it before the Empire does, or everything will burn." Kayla gasped and dropped to her knees. The images hit her like a wave. She saw fire raining from the sky. She saw her village, burning. She saw herself, older, leading people through flames. Then, silence. She opened her eyes. Rix was beside her, holding her shoulders. "You passed out," he said. "You were gone for 3 minutes." "I saw everything," she whispered. "The war, the core. I think I'm supposed to find it." "You're not alone," he said. Kayla looked at him. "I'm not?" "No," he said. "That's why I was sent. To protect you, to help you finish this." She stood slowly, legs shaking. Her hand touched the cube again, but this time it didn't burn. It floated gently into her palm. Kayla's voice trembled. "The Empire's looking for this too, aren't they?" Rix nodded. "They want to use the Ember Core to control planets. They've been hunting for it for years, but only one person can activate it." She held it tightly. "Me," He looked at her with calm eyes. You. Outside, the wind picked up. Far above them, in the blackness of space, another ship entered orbit. Its engines were silent. Its colors were red and silver. And its pilot had Kyla's face, but older and colder. She smiled, watching the planet below. At last, she said, I found you. The Empire wants her gone. The red and silver ship floated above the dead planet like a hungry shadow. Inside the command room, cold blue lights flickered. Soldiers in dark helmets stood in silence, waiting. At the front window, a tall woman watched, the surface of Veltrax with sharp silver eyes. Her name was Captain Vera. She wore a dark crimson coat with gold lining and a single black glove on her right hand. Under the glove was a metal arm, crafted from Wartech strong enough to break steel. On the screen in front of her, Kayla's face glowed softly. She's grown, Vera whispered, but the flame is still there. A voice behind her spoke. Do you wish to capture her? Vera turned her head slightly. No. The officer looked confused. Then what? Erase her, Vera said. Burn the planet if you must. The Emperor ordered her to vanish, and that flame dies with her. The ship turned, and weapons began to charge. Far below, Kayla and Rick sat beside a small campfire inside one of the old ruins. The cube from the temple, the flame memory, rested on the ground between them. It pulsed with soft red light like a sleeping heart. Kayla stared into the fire. Rix, she said quietly, do you think I'm dangerous? He looked up from cleaning his weapon. Why do you ask that? Because the Empire wants me. Gone. Not captured, not questioned, just gone. Rix put down the weapon and leaned forward. That's not your fault, that's fear talking. The Empire is afraid of what you might become. Kyla frowned. But I don't even know what I am. He studied her for a moment. You're a light in the dark, and lights scare people who live in shadows. She didn't say anything, but his words stayed in her heart. Then the ground shook. Boom. Kayla stood quickly. What was that? Rix pulled his scanner. The screen flashed red. Incoming. He grabbed his blaster, threw her the small shield bracelet, and grabbed the cube. We're moving, now. Outside, the sky glowed red. A beam of fire shot from the clouds, hitting the spot where they had just been sitting. The campfire exploded into ash. Kayla screamed and covered her face. Rix pulled her behind a broken wall. That's orbital fire. Vera's here. Vera? Kayla asked, coughing. She's a commander in the Empire, Rix said. Cold, brilliant, brutal. She once bombed 3 cities to catch 1 child. Why does she want me so badly? Rix looked at her and for the first time, hesitated. Because she knows the truth about you, and she'll do anything to stop it from getting out. Kayla's voice trembled. What truth? Another blast shook the ground. We don't have time, Rix said. There's an outpost 5 clicks east. Old rebel tech. If we make it there, we can jump to hyperspace. He handed her the cube. Don't let go of this. She nodded. They ran. The ruins fell around them. Fire rained from the sky. Drones buzzed like hornets, scanning for heat and movement. One flew over Kayla's head. It stopped. It locked onto her. Beep, beep. Target found. Get down, Rix shouted, firing at the drone. The shot missed. The drone launched a small missile. Kayla closed her eyes. Boom! She opened them. Rix had jumped in front of her, blasting the missile mid-air. Smoke and dust covered everything. Kayla coughed, eyes stinging. Rix? He groaned. I'm fine. Keep moving. They reached the edge of a broken dome. Just beyond it was a dark hole leading into a tunnel. We go underground, Rix said. They won't track us there. They dropped inside. Inside the tunnel, it was cold and wet. Kayla could barely see, but her mark glowed faintly, lighting the path. They walked in silence for a while, breathing hard. Then Kayla spoke softly. Why Are you really helping me, Rix? He didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, because years ago, I didn't help someone like you, and I still remember her screams. Kayla stopped walking. She looked at him, not as a soldier, but as a man with pain. You don't have to carry that guilt alone, she said. He looked surprised. What do you mean? She smiled faintly. You're not the only one who survived a fire. Far above, aboard her ship, Vera watched the screen go dark. They escaped into the tunnels. She turned away. No matter, she said. Let them run. The deeper they go, the closer they come to my trap. The Ember Core is real. The tunnel ended in silence. After walking for what felt like hours, Kayla and Rix stepped into a vast underground chamber. The walls were made of smooth black stone, curved like the inside of a giant egg. Tiny lights floated in the air, glowing gold like fireflies. But in the center was something alive. A sphere of red and orange light pulsed gently above a small pedestal. It floated in place, spinning slowly, whispering with heat. Kayla stopped. She couldn't breathe. That's it, Rix whispered. The Ember Core. It wasn't just energy. It felt like a heartbeat. Her heartbeat. Kayla stepped forward slowly, the flame mark on her chest burning brighter with every step. Rix grabbed her arm. Careful. If it rejects you. It won't, she said quietly. She didn't know how she knew, but she did. This core was calling her. She reached out. The heat wrapped around her fingers like warm water. The moment she touched it, her eyes filled with light. And then, she was no longer in the chamber. She stood in a different place. A memory. But it wasn't hers. Flames danced across the sky. Great towers of gold crumbled to dust. People, aliens and humans ran through the streets screaming. And in the middle of it all stood a woman. Tall, glowing, beautiful. She looked like Kayla, but older, stronger. She held a ball of fire in one hand and raised the other to the stars. Her voice rang like thunder. One day, the spark will rise again. Not in a warrior, but in a girl born to burn and rebuild. Kayla's heart shook. The memory faded, and she fell to her knees. Back in the chamber, Rix ran to her. Kayla! She was shaking, but alive. The Ember Core now floated gently beside her, no longer red. It was white-hot, awakened. Kayla stood slowly, her eyes filled with tears. I saw her, she whispered. The last bearer. She passed it to me. Rix stared at her. You mean, the Ember chose you? Kayla nodded. And now I feel it, she said. All of it. The pain, the hope, the fire. She looked at him. The Empire can't get this. If they do, they'll use it to burn the galaxy again. We won't let them, Rix said. Suddenly the walls shook. A loud cracking sound echoed above. Rix's scanner flashed red. Movement above, he said. They're breaking through. Kayla looked at the Ember Core. Then we leave. Now. They rushed down the side tunnel deeper into the system. The core followed them, floating beside Kayla like a guardian. As they ran, the tunnels changed. The walls turned golden. Strange markings lit up as they passed. This isn't just a ruin, Kayla said. It's a ship. Rix looked around. A ship? Yes, she said. Buried here. Long ago. The core floated faster, leading them toward a giant door. It opened on its own. Inside was a glowing platform shaped like a flame. Kayla stepped onto it. The room lit up. The walls showed stars moving, systems shifting, maps unfolding in the air. Rix stared. This is a jump ship, a Galaxy Class 1. Kayla placed her hand on the control panel. A soft voice spoke from the ship. Command accepted, Flamebearer confirmed. Ready for launch. Kayla looked back at him. You coming? He smiled. Always. The floor rumbled, and the ship, buried for thousands of years, rose from the ground in a burst of light. High above, aboard her warship, Vera watched the ground split open. A giant star-shaped vessel exploded out of the surface, fire and energy trailing behind it. She stood slowly. "The Ember ship," she said. "Impossible." Her fist clenched. "Lock on target, I want that ship." Her second-in-command looked nervous. "Captain, if the Ember has awakened, then we destroy it," she growled. Inside the rising vessel, Kayla stood at the command center. The Ember core now pulsed at the heart of the ship. Rick stood beside her, staring at the stars. "Where to now?" he asked. Kayla's voice was steady. "To find the others." "What others?" She turned to him. "The ones like me." And as the ship soared into space, the galaxy lit up, because the last spark had become a flame. Betrayal in the stars. The Ember ship glided through space like a silent comet. Inside, Kayla sat at the front window, watching stars slip past like falling snow. The core pulsed gently beside her, floating in a glass chamber near the ship's heart. Its light had changed, no longer red or white, but golden, warm, alive. She could feel its energy inside her now, steady and strong. But something else troubled, not outside, inside. Rix walked into the control room, followed by two others from the small crew they had picked up from a neutral outpost 3 days ago. A female pilot named Navi, and a quiet engineer named Torin. They'd joined the mission after hearing what Kayla had done, awakened the Ember core and escaped the Empire. They promised loyalty. They seemed honest. But Kayla had learned something new since bonding with the Ember. She could sense emotions now. Truth, fear, anger, doubt. And Torin was hiding something. Every time she walked into the room, his thoughts darkened. Not words, but shadows. Thick, heavy, tense. She didn't say anything yet. Not until she was sure. Later that night, while the others slept, Kayla slipped through the hallways barefoot. She walked toward the engine room. The ship's lights flickered low, soft and blue. She stopped outside Torin's door and listened. Inside, she heard quiet whispers. A voice. Mechanical. Not from this ship. She placed her hand against the wall, letting her energy touch the ember-threaded wires. The voices became clear. "Target is confirmed aboard. Coordinates set. Send intercept crew at next jump point. Do not fail." It was a message. To the Empire. Kyla's breath froze. Torin was a spy. She rushed to Rix's quarters. He opened the door, half-dressed, weapon in hand. "What's wrong?" "It's Toran," she whispered. "He's talking to them. The Empire. He's marking our next location." Rix's eyes turned cold. "We end this now." They found Toran near the ship's navigation core, typing fast into the system. He didn't see them come in. He looked up too late. "Don't move," Rick said, gun raised. Torin froze. "I can explain." "Save it," Kayla said, her voice stronger than ever. "You sold us out." Torin's eyes darted to the exit. "You don't understand. They made me do it. My family. They're prisoners. I had no choice." "You always have a choice," Rix growled. "And you made the wrong one." Torin slowly lowered his head. "I never thought she'd survive. Not the fire, not the core. But now she's too dangerous. You don't see it, but they do. The Empire doesn't want her dead just because she's powerful. They're afraid she'll change everything." Kayla stepped forward. "I will." And then, softly, she said, "You won't stop me." Rix fired. Torin collapsed. Silence returned. Hours later, Kayla sat alone in the dark control chamber. She stared at the stars. Her thoughts felt heavy. "I never wanted this," she whispered to herself. "I never wanted to be anyone." The ember core glowed softly behind her. She turned and walked over to it. The glass opened. The core hovered into her hands. It was warm, gentle. A voice filled her mind again, not words but feelings. "You were chosen, Not for power, but for pain. The one who suffers most carries the brightest flame. She closed her eyes. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but her spine stayed straight. I'm ready. Suddenly, the ship's alarms screamed. An alert blinked on the main screen. Empire warship approaching. 5 minutes. To contact. Rix ran into the room, gun on his hip. They found us. Kayla wiped her face and stood tall. Then we ended here. Rix looked at her, surprised. You're sure? Yes, she said. No more running. No more hiding. The core pulsed brighter, responding to her resolve. The ship's metal lit up like veins, gold streaks racing through the floor and walls. The Ember ship was awakening fully. Weapons that hadn't worked in centuries powered up. Shields formed. Engines screamed, and Kayla stood at the heart of it all. The flame wasn't inside the core anymore. It was inside her. From her throne aboard the enemy warship, Captain Vera smiled coldly. There she is, she whispered. The girl who was supposed to burn. She stood, red cloak flowing, prepared to board. I'll deal with her myself. The final battle was near, but Kayla didn't feel fear anymore. She was the fire, and this time, she would not burn alone. Flames don't scare her. Now the two ships floated in silence. One glowed gold and alive, the Ember ship pulsing with light and purpose. The other loomed dark and massive. Vera's warship, sharp like a blade, engines silent, weapons locked. Inside the Ember ship, Kayla stood at the center of the command chamber. No one gave her orders now. No one told her what to do. She wasn't a lost girl anymore. She was the last flame, and she wasn't afraid. Not of pain, not of power, and not of the woman who once tried to burn her alive. A loud metal crash echoed through the Ember ship. They were boarding. Red-armored soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. But Kayla didn't move. She lifted one hand. The core behind her pulsed once, and everything stopped. The soldiers froze in mid-step. Their guns melted into dust. Their helmets cracked, revealing terrified eyes. Kayla stepped through them like wind through smoke. Rix followed her closely, his weapon still ready, but he didn't need to fire. The ship was responding to Kayla. It wasn't just protecting her. It was obeying her. They reached the upper deck. The metal doors opened with a hiss. There she stood, Captain Vera, tall, calm, cold. She looked just like Kayla's nightmares. But Kayla didn't flinch. Vera stepped forward, her red coat dragging behind her. I warned them, she said softly. I told them the flame would return, and that it would destroy everything. You were right, Kayla said, and her eyes began to glow. Vera moved fast, her metal arm lit with power, slamming toward Kayla with the strength of a cannon. Kayla raised one hand. The flame exploded from her palm, meeting the strike mid-air. The blast sent shockwaves down the hallway. Walls cracked. Lights shattered. But Kayla didn't move. Vera stumbled back. You've grown, she said, wiping blood from her mouth. I became who you tried to kill, Kayla answered. And I'm still here. You think you're a hero? Vera laughed, bitterly. You're a spark, easy to crush. Kayla's voice was calm. You tried that once, remember? She stepped forward, the floor glowing under her feet. Vera raised her weapon again, but this time Kayla didn't block it. She walked through it. The fire around her burned hotter than any weapon. Vera's metal arm cracked, melted. She screamed, falling to her knees. Kayla stopped in front of her. I don't want revenge, Kayla whispered. I want peace, but to have peace, fire must come first. She placed her hand on the floor. The Ember core answered. The ship lit up with a final pulse. All the Empire soldiers on board fell unconscious instantly, their weapons vanishing like ash. Rick stepped in behind her. It's over, he said. Kayla looked down at Vera one last time. Burning me didn't kill me, she said. It made me who I was meant to be. Then she turned and walked away. Vera didn't follow. She couldn't. Later, Kayla stood at the front window of the ship. The stars were still there, peaceful and quiet. Behind her, the crew gathered. They had seen what she was now. They didn't see a cursed girl, they saw a leader. Kayla placed her hand on the glass. "Where to next?" Rix asked, standing beside her. Kayla smiled, eyes glowing gold. "There are others out there, children with sparks like mine, hidden, hunted, alone." She looked at him. "We find them." He nodded. "And if the Empire comes again?" She turned, back to the stars. "Then they'll learn what I already know." Her voice was calm. "But this time, flames don't scare me." The ship soared forward, leaving behind the darkness, carrying the last flame into the future. Not to destroy, to light the way, the end.